All right, guys, happy Monday. It has been an extremely long weekend of work, of me basically trying to become fluent in French, refreshing myself on these old AP French courses that I used to take in high school. Obviously, I'm going to provide you guys with an update on my little dust up with Mr. and Mr. Macron. Also, there's a lot going on in the social media world on X. Elon Musk, the owner of X, gets absolutely ratioed by a TikToker, Ian Carroll. I love his content. I've been sharing his content. I'm going to tell you what their little dust up was about. Also to the tune of 200,000 likes. I'm talking a ratio. We also have Mark Zuckerberg, who appeared on Joe Rogan with some COVID Facebook confessions. And to be honest, it's kind of infuriating. And we'll give you an update, of course, on the LA fires and what people are saying. All that coming up on Candace. All right, let's get into this. So I was speaking to my husband over the weekend, and I said to him, legitimately, that I did not believe that in the history of the world, there has ever been a circumstance where a sitting president, okay, why don't you think about this? A sitting president, a world G7 leader, do you recall ever hearing them having sent a legal threat to a podcaster, in this case, a pregnant mommy podcaster, in a country over which they do not preside? And included in that legal threat is a, shh, don't tell anybody, don't tell anybody. I really do just think it's important to pause and consider all of that having taken place. It's a sign of the times, really a sign of the Western times. It's a reason that I feel the West is falling. I mean, two grown men acting like big babies. We could never imagine in a million years Vladimir Putin doing this. Be honest, you could never imagine Vladimir Putin. If I said he's a killer, he's this, he's that, there's no way he's going to go to his advisors and be like, send her a letter, just threaten her and tell her not to tell anybody that we're threatening her in this letter. It's weird. It's what we describe on the show as fake and gay, right? There's something fundamentally weak about it. If you're going to send me a letter and you're like, I'm not this and I'm not that, well, you should realize that even by sending the letter, people recognize that you are an extremely weak and an extremely fragile leader. And I have to tell you guys, your comments on Friday's episode really made me chuckle. Top one being this one from Holly House. She wrote, French president, do not publicize this letter. Candace Owens, hold my beer. Followed by the next top comment from Alex. He writes, Macron, do not publish this. Candace, please subscribe and make sure to hit the like button. Yes, of course, I'm American. Who are you? Literally, who are you? And the third top comment is really great because it comes from somebody that lives in France, and it is from a user, ADARYM. They write, I am French. I am so glad that someone is talking about this scam. God protect you, Candace. We need people like you in France. And that kind of was the general feeling. I had tons of people from France emailing me saying, keep going. Thank you so much. Essentially, they're being suppressed and their opinions, they're fearful to speak them, given what the president has done. And so I want to take this time to let Americans who do not understand the significance of this story, I want to let you guys know why it is so important, because there have been people that have said, why does it matter if his wife is a dude? And there are people who don't fully appreciate what the French have been going through under what I would describe as this regime. It truly is a regime. You hear so much about Vladimir Putin, and we have this right here in the West. Pay attention to what's happening in the UK, what's happening in France. And imagine, if you will, a person, Emmanuel Macron, who was pretty much unknown. Yes, he was in government. I think he was an economic minister, perhaps, who starts his own party called En Marche, maybe, and he condemns the radicalism on the left and the right. This guy's going to be a centrist. He condemns radical socialism, points out the failures of his previous party, and he secures the vote of the people. And they are then presented with his wife, and they are told that this is a strong, faithful Catholic woman. And so you vote according to that. You're a Frenchman and you vote according to that. And the general assumption, of course, is that when someone is billing themselves as a centrist, they're not up to anything crazy. Hey, we're the moderates. We're the guys in the middle, right? We see problems with both sides. And look, this woman of faith. And it works. The press is behind them. That individual and his wife get into power. And then you start to see another side of them, a dark side. journalists start recognizing some holes in their past story, realizing we don't really know who these people are. Like this, they kind of were thrust upon us. Maybe we were just believing the media, and they realize that a lot is not adding up. And one by one, these independent journalists and researchers begin to suffer. First and foremost, this is a true story. And again, all this will be in our little mini series about Brigitte. There was a woman named Isabella Ferreira, right? I'm showing you a picture of her. She used to be, what do they call them? The jaune gilets, which I think yellow vest in French. 56-year-old woman who was investigating Emmanuel and Brigitte. She was deemed to be one of the earliest to discover that the age gap between them was not being accurately reported by the mainstream media. And then she said she had landed upon something even bigger and started making phone calls to alert others that actually Brigitte, as she was saying, could still be prosecuted for the crime of having slept with a minor or had a relations with somebody who was 15 years old under the new law, okay? 2 weeks later, this Isabella Ferreira is found dead, okay? She was drowned in a dam. The investigators admit that she was still alive when she slipped into the ocean. The media was saying, oh, she took some pills, she was bipolar, she was depressed. That's what happened. Even though she had been making phone calls days earlier asking for people to meet with her regarding this investigation. And in fact, one of her friends posted on Facebook, his name is Luca, and he wrote a very long post, which you can go and find, but this is the most compelling element. He did not buy the accidental suicide story. He wrote, these days, she was focused on the sexual assault of the teacher, Brigitte Trogneau, towards the minor pupil, Emmanuel Macron. The revelation that she claimed to have and about which she had told me was that the prescription 30 years, he's referring to the statute of limitation, 30 years after the majority, meaning the age in which you can give consent for sexual assaults against minors, allowed Emmanuel Macron to file a complaint against Brigitte. So again, that's loosely translated. And he's saying that like she had discovered the statute of limitations was not up. In fact, it is true. It is not up. It will be up at the end of this year, 2025. But then she committed suicide in a very strange way. Most people don't jump and try to drown themselves. I think it's almost impossible. I think I read somewhere that it's almost impossible to drown yourself because your brain will just automatically come to the surface. I don't know, whatever. That's what happened. That was how it was reported in the media. Then you had the journalist Natacha Rey, who had just assisted in an investigation. She wasn't even the one who had published the 6-part series, the one that I saw that was published by Xavier Poussard. Natacha Rey has cancer. She has no money. She has been fighting the Macrons for years in court and losing. And it is being claimed that it was essentially a show trial, that they have this much power that they always have, that she was declared guilty for things that she actually and factually never said, and that she is not getting fair treatment in court. A lot of the files are being locked down, so the public is not even really getting a clear view as to what is happening. And you're not going to believe this. Her lawyer, Francois Danglehant, similarly, since he went out on a limb and defended Natacha Rey, the state came down on him. Stole, according to him, took his 3-year-old son, that there is a essential mafia that has been on his back that set up a fake trial against him, trying to throw him in prison, but it didn't work. And he is still with Natacha Rey fighting this, trying to get the story out. And then, of course, the man that is at the nucleus of all of this, the one who broke the story about this transition, Xavier Poussard. Incredibly, the Macrons, as you saw, and as I shared in the letter, are still refusing to sue this journalist for defamation. The initial journalist who published this story in 6 parts. He has not been sued by the Macrons, but he too is being harassed. He too has people that work with him that are getting squeezed by the government, being told that they will face financial ruin if they continue to fund his efforts. They have even gone out and tried to figure out who is funding his work. They've attempted to bring a claim against Xavier himself, not for the pieces that he wrote about the Macron, but for an article he wrote years ago regarding who controls the French media, alleging that they can bring a claim against him for anti-Semitism. even though he didn't say they are Jews. He just named people who control or own a large part of the media in France. And they were like, oh, well, these people happen to be Jewish. Can we go after him for anti-Semitism? Now, Emmanuel and Brigitte want to see if they can extend their globalist tentacles to the United States, right? That is what they're really high on. They're high on their own globalist supply. We can show me the man. I'll show you the crime. We'll go after any person who tries to tell this story. And they are now eyeing me with an extremely carefully worded letter where they don't go so far as to deny that Brigitte is trans, where they don't go so far as to explicitly state that Brigitte Macron was born a biological woman, which would have been so easy to do over these last 8 years. But they're kind of wheeling and dealing and trying to find defamation in other ways, like accusing Macron of lying about his sexuality. It's one of the things they listed. What? Yeah, accusing him of lying about his sexuality. Did I do that? Did I say that he explicitly lied about his sexuality? What are you even talking about? Why, how are you alleging that this hurts him and his reputation in front of the French people? They hate him, okay? Accusing Brigitte of lying to the French people about her sexuality. Again, what is this? And I will say that they definitely picked the right mom. They definitely picked the right mother. We actually are hitting send on this letter in a couple of hours, so you guys will be the first to even see an exclusive peek of it. And I'm going to upload it in its entirety to the our locals website. That is candace.locals.com, or is it locals.candace.com? You guys show me again. This is where you guys go to support our show and to keep us independent. And if you go to locals.com and you find us, you will see candace.locals.com. We're going to put all of this up. We want the public to see this. You know, we are no longer doing things in the dark. Okay. We are in the era of light, and everything that happens, I'm going to expose to the public because I have the platform to do that. And they have a right to know. They have the right to see how you people operate and how you try to intimidate. You are not thug life to me. I get that you're running stuff in France. That's not how I feel, okay? And I don't care about what you're doing in France or care about what you're doing in Paris. I just care about people understanding the truth and understanding that there is a dark network of individuals that have been supporting your campaign. And that part is plainly obvious. That part is plainly obvious. That is not something that can be denied on the basis of the things that people have been accused of in your network, people that have funded you, Emmanuel Macron, okay? So here is a little sneak peek of our legal letter that we are sending back to him. And just reading you a couple of lines here. Again, it will be up on the website. While you cleverly try to distinguish between calling someone gay or transgendered and calling the Macrons liars and criminals who are defrauding the French people and the international community, the implication is clear. You and your clients believe that being labeled as gay or transgendered is defamatory, and they must prove as much to maintain their claims. However, they would contravene the beliefs of President Macron's most ardent progressive liberal supporters. Yet your denial that being labeled as gay or transgendered is defamatory is belied by the statements and the posts that you are citing as defamatory. Nearly all of the statements and posts simply refer to Brigitte Macron as a man who transitioned. And so we list some of these examples of these strange posts that they cited, satanic, whatever, saying that you can't call this satanic, whatever. And we basically say, so either your clients believe these examples are libelous, or you merely want Candace to remove them to protect your clients' images. None of these show that your clients were damaged. Therefore, it seems your true agenda is to intimidate a journalist and prevent her from reporting discoveries about the Macrons. But you chose the wrong journalist. Candace is not intimidated. No, I am not intimidated. In fact, I would describe myself as positively elated about this opportunity. Mr. and Mr. Macron, okay? I want you to come to Tennessee so bad. Bring this lawsuit as you would have to the great state of Tennessee. Bring it to the volunteer state, you know? We still have the good old boys here. And don't even waste your money getting a courier to file. I'll file it for you. I'll be your courier, okay? I'll run down to the courthouse and file the lawsuit for you if you promise me that you two will show up hand in hand. Okay, that you will come down to a state where we still have the good old boys, and you'll explain to them, Brigitte, that you think 15-year-old boys can be sexy, that you're attracted to 15-year-old boys. Bring that mindset, your Parisian elitist mindset here. Explain to them how 15-year-olds can be hot and sexy and how maybe you as an older man want to marry them. I'd love to see that. I'd pay big money to see you have a rude awakening about what the rest of the world thinks about what it is that you two have been up to. It's gross. It is disgusting. There is no way to slice it when you make a confession as you have. And by the way, as I said, we have proof that he was 14 when he was in that play. Okay, the play that you watched him perform and were just thought he was so profound and beautiful, because what sane person at the age of 39 and 40, the ripe age of 39 and 40, looks at a 14-year-old boy and finds that to be appealing, and then thinks that they have enough money and connections to get the press to sell it as something sexy, as Josephine and Napoleon? Get the heck out of my face. Truly, get out of our faces. Like I said, try that around here. Try that around here. Come, get on a plane, do it, sell it. Oh, that was beautiful. Beautiful, the story of the Beauty and the Beast. No, it's not going to work. It's not going to fly here, okay? We have good values. We have good morals. We don't care about your top designers, okay? They don't care about Paris. We do have a Paris, Tennessee here, but it's not what you're used to. And I am telling you, I will give anything. I might even cover your legal expenses if you agree to show up in Tennessee with your mindset, okay, and meet me in court. And guess what? Your little line about, we don't have to answer whether or not Brigitte is a woman. No, you literally will have to answer that if you have the, excuse me, balls to file this lawsuit in the state of Tennessee. We invite it. My supporters invite it. I invite it. I love a good fight. And I am telling you, this world, this sick, grotesque world that you are a part of, where you could just pay enough money to hide this sort of pervasive illness, because that is what I view it as, okay? 40-year-olds don't look at 14, 15-year-old boys and find them cute and appealing and want to be in relationships with them. I am disgusted by your relationship. You make me sick, Brigitte. Seriously. And with all that I know now, having sat down with Xavier Poussard, I sense that a lot of people worldwide are going to be physically sickened by the fact that the entire press circle in France has been guarding a lot of secrets about you. And yes, I truly, truly now, even more so than when I first reported the story, believe that you were born a man. So we can have that conversation in court, or you can simply respond to our legal emails, but know that all of it will be published on our local's website. And that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, guys, reminding you about preborn, because January is considered the Sanctity of Life month, a time that we honor the over 66 million babies whose lives have been tragically ended through abortion. Sadly, since Roe was overturned, babies' lives are at an even greater risk. The abortion pill accounts for over 60% of all abortions, making this tragedy available 24/7. But in the midst of this darkness, there was a light that shines. Preborn has rescued over 300,000 babies from abortion. On average, they rescue over 200 babies a day, because when a woman is considering abortion and she hears her baby's heartbeat and sees her baby on an ultrasound, that baby's chance at life doubles. So Preborn needs our help. For just $28, the cost of a dinner, you can sponsor an ultrasound to introduce a mother to her baby for the first time. 100% of your donation will go towards saving babies. Donate, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword, which is baby. That's pound 250 baby. Or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. All right, let's get into these stories. Haven't seen a trend like this in a long time, where the person who gave us X, Elon Musk, gets completely ratioed. I mean, to the tune of 142,000 likes. Ian Carroll's gets like 230,000 likes. And what's really compelling about this particular ratio, aside from just the topic, is that Ian Carroll truly is just a person who started making videos on TikTok, investigating various things. And he built a network for himself. He just crossed 1 million followers on X, I guess, in a large part due to the fact that he ratioed X's founder, which is Elon Musk. So it's pretty amazing. So I'll tell you what happened. So Elon Musk, weird arc on the topic of Israel, meaning he was criticizing Israel, and it seemed like he got some magic phone call in the background. The next thing we knew, he had to visit Auschwitz. He had to show up in Israel, do a photo op with Bibi Netanyahu. It was just strange. All of it was very strange. And now he kind of once in a while tweets what most would consider, Ian Carroll would consider, to be Israeli propaganda. And so he tweets this video. I'm going to just show you a brief clip of it because it's not relative to what Ian responded with, which was the ratio. Here's the video that Elon Musk tweeted.
What set of actions result in the greater good in Israel? I mean, obviously, you cannot have people who if they want to slaughter everyone in Israel, you got to stop that. There's no, there's no way. Those people either need to be killed or incarcerated, or they will simply try to kill more Israelis. This is what it amounts to, obviously. And they want to kill Americans too, by the way. Generally, like, Israel is referred to as the little Satan in America. We are the big Satan. That's what the Ayatollah calls us.
Okay, so you get the idea. He's basically doing there's a Hamas behind every single child rhetoric, and if we don't all get involved and send our money overseas to a foreign country, then they're coming for us next. Okay, we've heard it all 1,000 times before. So Ian Carroll tweets this back regarding the video. He writes, "For being so smart, you're exceptionally bad at understanding this one issue. Kind of weird." And his tone when he does his videos is always incredibly sarcastic, and he's basically saying what everyone thinks, which is, what happened? You really have changed your perspectives very quickly, and you kind of are seeming to have to post these sorts of things. Like, blink if you need help, Elon Musk. So Elon Musk responds to him, and I think he was kind of giving him a layup here, because he writes, "What am I missing?" And again, if you weigh this against Elon Musk's old tweets, I just don't think, I feels like he's intentionally missing something. And this is how Ian Carroll responds, which currently has literally 255,000 likes, something like 33,000 retweets. We'll get to that. He writes this to Elon Musk, and just takes over to takes over X for 2 weeks. "You're missing," the lead up here, "that AIPAC purchased the seats of about 90% or more of our current Congress. That JFK famously wanted them registered as a foreign agent right before he was shot, and thus they changed their name and never registered. Why are we letting a foreign lobby buy off our Congress? You're missing that Israel was obviously the state sponsor of Jeffrey Epstein, whose handler was Ehud Barak, ex-head of Israeli military intelligence. His funding was Les Wexner, one of the world's richest Zionist philanthropists, quote unquote, and he was accused by ex-Mossad agents of being Mossad, not to mention the Maxwell connection. They had blackmail on Clinton and many, many more. He who holds the blackmail holds the leash. Just ask J. Edgar Hoover. You're missing that Israel's the only nation who has a de facto sanctioned, yet actually secret and unsanctioned nuclear program, a program that they stole from the United States. Look into the Apollo affair, NUMEC, the Dimona nuclear facility. You're missing that Jews, Muslims, and Christians lived side by side in peace in Palestine before the Rothschilds purchased the country from Britain during World War I, to the Balfour Declaration, and began their colonial program. You're missing that the groups that founded Israel, Lehi, Irgun, and Haganah, were declared terrorist organizations by Israel itself because their tactics were so deplorable, bombing British and Palestinian civilians. Yet these three paramilitary groups rebranded to form the IDF, and their leadership became a leadership of Israel for the following 30+ years. You're missing that Israel is a foreign nation halfway across the world that has no business receiving my tax dollars. Why are we sending them billions of dollars in our tax money while our country burns and is overrun by illegal immigration? We are told Israel is our quote-unquote greatest ally, so why would they have had a massive spy network targeting U.S. government agencies leading up to September 11, 2001? See the Israeli art students, DEA reports, for copious evidence of Israeli surveillance all across the continental U.S. This is an official government report that cites hundreds of incidents of observed Israeli surveillance teams documented by the U.S. government agents all across the continental U.S. And we still have received zero answers as to why there were numerous fake Israeli moving companies positioned all across the eastern seaboard leading up to September 11, 2001. And we have multiple eyewitness reports as well as hard photographic evidence that they knew the attacks were coming at least a day before they did, and that they were positioned at a vantage point to photograph the attack up to a half hour before the first plane hit. Never got any answers, but you can read the official FBI reports about the incident. I've broken them down live on X before. That is just a small list of some of the best documented reasons why I, as an American, don't want Israel receiving any of my tax dollars. And I didn't even mention my obvious objections to the collective punishment, mass surveillance, forced starvation, bombing of refugee camps, brutal murdering of women and children that's been going on in Gaza and the West Bank for years, decades, which you can watch in graphic detail right here on X. And that's not to mention that somehow we let Congress pass laws outlawing anti-Semitic speech, despite our own First Amendment. And we have anti-boycott legislation in multiple states, despite the fact that it's perfectly legal to boycott American companies, just not Israeli ones. Every content creator knows the fastest way to get demonetized, banned, and slandered is to be critical of Israel. I figured you would have realized this too after what they did to you and tried to do to X just last year. Whoo, burn. Like, wow. So that went, again, absolutely viral. Wait, Skylar, can you bring that back up so we can see the retweets that this received? 52,000 retweets. That is incredible. 255,000 likes, loves, whatever, and 7.8K comments and 7,800 comments, pardon, into the video. And truly, like, I was just like standing up, just giving a round of applause, because so many of us, I think, have really woken up to that over the last 2 years. And it's been crazy to see. I mean, everybody obviously knows that this is why my YouTube is demonetized. It's like, you have to take this perspective and support this country or else. And it seems crazy because many of us genuinely, like, from the bottom of our hearts, just weren't aware of any of this stuff. You know, we kind of went through this programming in school. And it's interesting because there is this philosopher, you may have seen him on Tucker, actually sat down with him, a Russian philosopher named Alexander Dugin, who Tucker sat down with because his daughter was murdered by Zelensky. And he's written books, The Fourth Political Theory, who did this thread the other week, or maybe it was actually last week, or maybe it was like a couple of days ago, where he spoke about, and he said specifically, the religion of the Holocaust has been broken. The religion of the Holocaust hasn't broken. Now, for people who are not easily offended and you really consider what it is that he's saying, and I understood what he meant, which is to say, I grew up so much in my heart feeling like it was my job, after having learned in school, as we all must go through, learning about World War II and the Holocaust. We're shown all of these graphic images. It is such a required part of our learning environment. And then we have Hollywood, we have all of these movies, and we just feel this tremendous burden for something that we weren't alive for, and we go, oh my goodness, like, if anybody says anything about Jewish people, I will just instantly react. You know, you feel so instantly protective because in many ways we were so traumatized to learn of these atrocities in the classroom. So, and I think that's what he's talking about when he says the religion of the Holocaust has been broken, because he went on to say that it was broken by Bibi Netanyahu and Zelensky. And finally, we have brought them down, he says, like the Jewish people down to where everyone else is, where we now recognize that there are evil, horrible, atrocious Jews, Black people, white people. We recognize that. And I think prior to that, the religion of the Holocaust, meaning like how we learned about this in school, disallowed us to ever have that perspective about a Jewish person. And everything has now changed in the last, I would say, really since October 7th, because I've seen people that I respected, people that I came up in this movement with, say and do such despicable, horrific, dishonest things, all in the name of serving this foreign country, which is doing. I can see it on my ex. Okay, there's no article that can be written in any publication that is going to remove me from my own eyes, the amount of death, and to justify it with the animosity and the hatred in their heart towards Palestinian children. I can't unsee it, you know, I can't unsee it. And so in many ways, I think breaking that spell and recognizing that we're all human, irrespective of whether we are Jewish, whether we are Christian, whether we are white, whether we are Black, whether we are Muslim, that there are tremendously good people. It was good for us to recognize and to see this evil. And for those who are interested to see this turning point, it is a cultural turning point. Alexander Dugin was correct. There is a cultural turning point right now. And it's a bit also kind of reminds me of what my husband says all the time. He says, wealth is ruined, like generational wealth. Wealth is ruined by the third generation. I guess it's an old saying, it's an old expression, maybe it's an old British expression, I don't know. But the idea is that it's the grandchildren that ruin it. And I think in many ways, when I see it now, the entitlement of the grandchildren or the great-grandchildren, people that were in the Holocaust, and the nastiness of how they treat people, like, well, you know, my grandfather lived through this, so now I can just smear you and libel you and lie about you and lie about your heart, is what has ruined it. It has ruined it. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I thought that was super fascinating to hear him just lay that out, for it to go so viral. So many more eyes will be opened because of that, recognizing that there was no community notes put on that. And he listed all of his sources as well. And if you're someone who truly grew up like me with that in your heart, and then being so confused by what appears to be people that you thought were victims that are acting and saying things that are so objectively evil, it will help guide you. I think it will really help guide you to recognize that, hey, we're just all human and everybody sucks and is evil and awful and speaks like genocidal maniacs sometimes. And I think Bibi Netanyahu is genocidal maniac. But I can say that now because I'm already demonetized. Can't do it twice. All right, guys, I want to remind you about Pure Talk because last year we voted big government out and efficient government in. Well, now it's time to take action against those big wireless companies. So if you're still on Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, the question is why? You can make the switch right now to Pure Talk, which is my cell phone company. Pure Talk gives you the exact same service on the exact same towers, but you'll have better customer service because they're based right here in the US. Pure Talk does all of that for half the cost. There's simply no need to be spending $85 or $100 per person on your wireless bill. It's not when you can get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data with a mobile hotspot for just $35 a month. The average family of four will save about $1,000 a year with Pure Talk while enjoying America's most dependable 5G network. So you can cut your wireless bill in half today by switching to Pure Talk, and you can go to puretalk.com/Owens. And right now you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. That's puretalk.com/Owens. All right, guys, we should speak about Mark Zuckerberg because Mark Zuckerberg, I guess he thought he was attending like a Catholic confession when he went on Joe Rogan, and he tells the truth about something that he's just been lying about for years. And I guess we're supposed to go applaud him for stating the obvious, which is that we were all very clearly being irrationally censored during the COVID period. And basically, they were only allowing lies to spread because they wanted to force everyone to get a vaccine that they obviously knew was not going to stop the spread. And they obviously knew could lead to some very serious injuries. I'm talking face paralysis. People were getting all sorts of paralysis. Men were getting myocarditis. And they just censored all of this. And we're like, it's great. It's safe. It's effective. Get the vaccine, you idiots, right? This is kind of the rhetoric that we heard. And Mark Zuckerberg was a part of that. And now he's kind of trying to walk it back as he realizes that he's on or has been on the losing side. So here's what he told Joe Rogan. Take a listen.
These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse. And it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Oh, did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we, but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails, the emails are published. It's all kind of out there. And they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They wanted us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. And I don't know, then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating, coming after our company. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Okay, so I'm still not going to be a hater. He does look better with longer hair. He doesn't look like a lizard, but he's still saying lizardy things, okay? And I just don't trust him. I find him to be a bit of a reptile, And essentially what he's saying is, I don't have a spine. If you don't have a spine, I don't want you leading a social media company, right? I just don't want you leading. I want you to step aside and let someone who, when they receive a phone call from the Biden administration and someone's cursing them out, someone that will give it right back to them. That's what I want, okay? That's what we should expect, given the fact that we have free speech in this country. Okay, free speech means that you have the freedom to talk about the effects that a vaccine has had on you. You have the freedom to speak about the fact that you got a vaccine today and you may be passed out. Maybe you got myocarditis, you were in the hospital because of the vaccine. He took that away from people. And in the process, actually, if you think about it, harmed a lot of people who maybe would not have gotten the vaccine if they had heard alternative voices like myself. And it infuriates me because now it's, he's at Mar-a-Lago, he's on Joe Rogan. Okay, great. I'm glad that you're having the conversation, but I wish it wasn't such a buddy-buddy conversation. Like, he's not the victim of this. Like, you're not a victim of your own cowardice. You're just a coward, okay? And so it's frustrating for people like me who really stepped to the plate and sued Facebook throughout this time for taking down a post where I was telling the truth about COVID. And the judge wouldn't even hear the case because he just agreed with the lie, essentially, because it became that political, where the judge was like, I'm not even going to hear this case and let you presented in front of a jury because I've just decided that Facebook is right to censor this stuff because you had an older judge who's just fearful of COVID. And it just, you look back on it and my platform got demonetized at that time, which tends to be apparently what happens to me. But you hold on to the truth and eventually it comes out. And yeah, you lose money in the process. I just calculate every month how much money I'm losing on YouTube because I'm just not going to buck and bend the knee to Bibi Netanyahu. But in the end, it's going to be worth it. I know that because in the end, truth always wins. I truly do believe that. And I'm glad Zuckerberg is finally recognizing that and he's sharing these things, but he does not have a sympathetic shoulder with me. I will say that. There's no sympathetic shoulder. Man up, okay? Can everybody just man up? Let's just start selling man up t-shirts just across the board. I mean, Brigitte, Emmanuel, Zuckerberg, can everybody just man up? Put a little bit of hair on your chest. By the way, this is a real headline. I just wanted to show it to you. Speaking of Meta, it says Meta orders the removal of tampons in men's rooms amid Zuckerberg post-election shakeup. It's real. It's actually real. I know you're thinking it looks like a Babylon Bee headline, but Babylon Bee is not funny anymore. That's funny. That's actually real. And so I guess we're winning, guys. He's serious. He's so serious. He's taking tampons out of the men's restroom. I don't know what this world has come to. I truly do not. All right, guys. So let's, before we get out of here, speak about the California fires. Obviously, now what's being debated is why didn't we have these controlled burnings? And it turns out that in order for these controlled burnings to happen, they have to go through the state is blaming the federal government, saying that they have to go through the National Environmental Policy Act, which is a review process before they can burn, which lasts anywhere from 3.6 years to 7.2 years. So basically, they just weren't allowed to conduct these burnings. Again, we're still trying to see whose fault it is. Is it the state's fault? Is it the federal government's fault? My money is on potentially both. If this was a policy that was put in place when Biden was in office, if you have Biden and you've got Gavin Newsom, I don't know. It's like that Spider-Man meme where they just point at each other. Who knows who would have come up with something this ingenious? But obviously, this is what has led to so much devastation. And the PBD podcast, they were discussing this. Tom Ellsworth was basically speaking as to why the insurance companies declined to cover for fire. So all of these people who have lost their homes, many of them aren't even going to get a check. And what's going to happen is some rich person is going to come in and they're going to get all of their land. They're going to sell what they owned at a fraction of the cost because they literally have nowhere to live. It's truly horrific. And listen to Tom's explanation as to what went on.
And I'll put some stats behind it. So I'm not going to mention everything that we talked about, Dudley. I'm not talking about any companies that he mentioned. I'm just looking at facts. Facts. State Farm and Allstate stopped selling insurance because of the California Fair Plan and Governor Newsom. Fact. State Farm announced last year they would non-renew 30,000 policies in what they called, ready for this? Wildfire risk areas. And you're thinking middle of nowhere, Big Bear, up in the forest. Nope. Guess what? They non-renewed. Here's the stat, Pat. State Farm non-renewed 69% of the policies it had in Pacific Palisades. Data point this morning confirmed. State Farm said last year, we're non-renewing 69% of the homes we insure currently today in Palisades. Why? Long-term brush risk and poor management of the common area.
You can't blame them.
No, I'm not blaming them.
I know you're not, but what I'm saying is, you cannot blame. The business has to make profits. And when the regulators make their life a living hell and make them look bad, what do you want us to do? Take a loss every year?
Well, correct. Now I'm going to the punchline. Why did they do that? Because the county of L.A. and the city of L.A. had suspended brush removal in Palisades. This comes down to the county.
Are you joking?
Yeah, you can find it. You can find it was suspended here. Casual brush removal suspended here. Limited brush removal suspended here. This is all going to come out because Zach Levi and other
Trump said he got to clean the floor, and the floor.
That's exactly right. I'm not down on the insurance companies. I'm saying the insurance companies are at the bottom of the waterfall, and at the top of the waterfall is the state with their policies and budget cuts on fire and brush suppression and all the things that they've done, despite the level of taxes they're collecting.
Listen, here's what I will say. We need to pay very close attention to who is going to be buying up this land because the little conspiracy theorist in me believes that this could be a land grab. You know, we are seeing these sorts of instances. Suddenly they have no insurance. They can't get their homes rebuilt. They're going to have to sell their land. And they're, like I said, people are going to get it at an absolute bargain. And who are those people that are going to swoop in immediately and buy the land? That's what we're going to pay attention to. We have to hound these people because something here feels off. Now we're hearing about arsonists. We're hearing that houses are burning and there's just literally nothing left. Like, it's not like there's just no way that this house can be rebuilt, sort of a thing. And I find it to be tremendously suspicious. The policies that are passed right before, you know, the insurance declining to cover just last year, and then this happens. Something is not sitting right with me. Anyways, before I get to your comments, we should end on a happy note or a sad note, depending on which way you want to lean, regarding these fires. Meghan, our Duchess, has decided that she's going to push the Netflix series, the one that we showed you of her cooking, because it's so relatable. She felt that maybe it would not be relatable at this time to see her cooking in a mansion that belongs to one of her friends and inviting over her rich and fabulous people as she gets honey out of the garden and presents perfect Martha Stewart looking cakes. They thought maybe that's not the right time. It was kind of devastating that they're going to have to push that, but then people will be able to watch it at a later time. But by the way, her and Prince Harry, who always seem to snap into these weird royal roles, meaning they just go and visit the victims, like exactly what you would expect royals to do or politicians to do. They do this, and they are doing this right now in Southern California. And I just wanted to show you this really hilarious clip of these, the mayor, I don't even know the mayor of where, you're gonna have to tell me in my ear, a mayor of Pasadena, describing how Harry and Meghan are here, and the reporter describing how hard Harry and Meghan, particularly Meghan, is working. Take a listen. Here's what she's doing.
It looked as if, you know, the two of them might want to really be helpful. As I mentioned, I saw actually Meghan Markle like stoop down and you know, take off the lid of a plastic bin. Do they want to really get down and dirty?
She stooped down and she picked up the lid of a plastic bin. And that's how I knew my girl was real. And I just want to thank Meghan for doing that. It's very helpful for her to stoop down and do that. If there's any plastic bins you guys see around that need picking up, you can hit up your girl, Meghan Markle. It's amazing. I really got just such a chuckle out of that description. It's just such a nonsense. Nobody cares. Send money, send food. Is about what these people need. You know, they need donations, they need a place to live, they need hotels. That's not to say they aren't doing that. I'm sure perhaps they are in the background. But I don't understand this visit. But I do have to shout out Beyonce today. She was on my mind. I was on the treadmill this morning and I just kept dancing to single ladies. This is why I have to have a treadmill in my house, because I do not behave correctly on treadmills. I literally will watch the music videos and do all the dances. Anyways, I was just looking back and I was watching her song Halo and all these black and white artistic videos that she created. And I was like, I miss this Beyonce, you know, before she got too political. And then my producer told me that Beyonce had just donated. She's not going down and picking up plastic lids, but she did donate $2.5 million to Los Angeles area wildfire relief via Be Good or Bay Good, which is her foundation. So kudos to Beyonce. You know, I'm sad that, you know, me and Miss Tina have so much drama and so much beef out in these streets. But I do miss the old Beyonce. I really do. And so it's great to see that she has given in a capacity that she has given. All right, guys, before I get into your comments, reminding you about American financing, because I know there's a lot of us that are trying to get our finances in order and start the year off right. There is some great news for homeowners because interest rates have dropped and are now in the 5s. So if you've been buried in high interest credit card debt, now is the time to break free. American financing can help you access the cash in your home to pay off your high interest debt. Last year, their salary-based mortgage consultants helped customers pay an average of $800 a month. That's like giving yourself a $10,000 raise. What a way to start the new year. And if you start now, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So talk to my friends over at American Financing today. Call 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210, or you can simply visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. It's americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, let's see what you guys are saying to me in the comment section. RN Explorer said, new merch drop, Mr. and Mr. Macron. I love that. Yes, I still can't believe they included the t-shirt. I just don't know what they think that is. Like, is she going to come after me for civil harassment over a t-shirt? I think you're right. We are definitely going to drop with our big interview Mr. and Mr. Macron merch. This person writes, oh, I'm afraid for the Macrons. They messed with the bull. Now they're going to get the horns. Love you, Candace. Yeah, and it's a pregnant bull. Okay, it's a pregnant bull. I've got a baby calf in there, and he's fired up. Literally, my former executive producer was like, what is this baby on? Because you were just going for it. Garhent writes, welcome to the Barbara Streisand effect. Yes, they are going to learn because, like I said, most Americans didn't really understand the extent of the story and how dark and how twisted it is. And we are now going to present that to them. And I'm excited to have the ability to, because, guys, this is not contained in France. You know, we've been speaking about this corruption and the leaders in the West. This has been the theme of this podcast. What is going on in France is the most extreme version of that, the most extreme version that you could possibly imagine. You know, when you have journalists that are fighting for their lives, who are being pressured financially, trying to simply get to the bottom of what should be such an easy truth, an easy thing to debunk. And that's because this is what they want. They want to stifle speech in the West now because they have lost control of the narrative. And that, to me, is the last squeals of a dying animal. The old guard is dying. That's something that Ian Carroll has said. They don't run things anymore, but they are not going to go down easily. I will tell you that. These people are truly evil in a way and in a capacity that you could never quite understand. Sarah writes, Candace fears God only. That is a fact, an absolute fact. And sometimes my toddlers, when they're being crazy. And a couple of comments on Zuckerberg, or just one comment rather on Zuckerberg. Sheila writes, I do not trust him either. And he has lost the privilege to lead any type of public speech. Oh, on the Californian fires, one person has a prediction. Baran writes, BlackRock will buy it. If that happens, we riot, my friends. We riot. If Bill Gates scoops it up or BlackRock, we riot. Deborah writes, look to Maui and FEMA's $750 government gift. Who is buying that land? Oh yeah, the government will give them probably $1,000, right? Maybe $1,000 because we got to send some money overseas. Anyways, you guys, if you would, somebody, final comment, right? As I'm from London, can you please do a deep dive into Princess Diana's death? The British people need to know the truth. We need you, Candace. P.S. You're amazing. I've seen a few comments on that, and I did do a personal deep dive into that. And there's a lot there. Okay? I will say that. I was very shocked by that because I only had my childhood memory of seeing it on the stands everywhere. And it is, maybe one day. That day is not today. It may not even be for a couple of months. But I am aware of some holes in that story. And that is the most that I will say today, because I can only take on one country at a time. One country's corruption at a time. All right, guys. Again, if you want to support the show, support our independence, support our potential battle against Emmanuel and Brigitte, you can head to candace.locals.com on your screen and give whatever gift you can monthly. It keeps us going. We deeply appreciate all the support that we can get. No matter what, we'll be here tomorrow.